Hello and very warm welcome to the channel. In today's video, we are going to learn how we can use radio button inside UITableView cell. So for this, I already created a single view application project and named it radio button, and also created a basic UITableView. Let me run the app now. So here you can see a basic table view displaying ABC in first and second row. So now we are going to see how we can use radio buttons instead of these single letters. So for this, first we will create a new TableView cell class, wattage class, and here UITableView cell class as a subclass, and we will name it as radio TableView cell and check the options. Also create XIB file. So here we created the file. Now let's design our UI. Let me make this bigger, and now first of all we will drag a UI label here. This label will act as a header title for the cell. So here 20 and 20. Okay, now for radio button, what we do, we already imported these two images. One is for the off radio and one for when the radio is on. So the basic difference between a checkbox and a radio button is that in checkbox a user can select multiple options, but with radio buttons only one option is selected. Suppose we have two radio button options, then if user select one, then other one gets deselected, and the vice versa will happen when user select the other one, that is the first radio button. So here now we will drag a UI button that will act as our radio button. So here let me make the height of it as 30 and 30. Okay, now from the top it will be 10 and 20. And now we will give it an image for the radio buttons, and here for the default will be radio off, and for the selected state of button we will give an image radio on, and here we will also drag a UI label in front of this, and we will give it a constraints of 15. Okay, and we'll arrange center vertically to this button. This will act as a title for this option. Similarly, we will use the second option as well, and we will copy paste the same option, and we'll say 10 from the top. Okay, and here the leading will be same as of the first option, and similarly we will have a title for this radio options as well, and it should be leading to the our title and will be centrally vertical to the radio options. Now our UI is designed. So now it's ready to use cell class, and the height is 140. So what we will go to our view controller based, we set up our table view. So here we will say table form dot estimated row height is 142.0, and also we will register TBL form with radio table view cell, register nib UI nib, and here we have nib name, bundle will be nil, and identifier will this. So we will use this class name as our nib name is same, our XIB name is same, so here it is, and we will give it a same identifier. Now in our cell forward index path we will change it to let. We will omit this as we no longer required, and here we will paste our identifier and lastly, in our delegate for height, we will say return UITableView dot automatic dimensions. Now let's run the app. So here we say as radio button table view cell. So we have a problem with the height at the moment. So it's 140. Not 140, sorry. 140, and we forgot to give the bottom constraints. So here for this button we will give the bottom constraints, and now it will fix. It will display the cell edges. And here you can see the radio buttons are there. So right now nothing will happen. So we will write down the code at how their functionality will work. So for this, first we will create an IB outlets and IB actions. So here let's jump into it. And first of all, let me make this a little bigger. First of all, we will create a IB outlet where LBL header of type UI label, and then we will make an IB outlet for the options. So here LBL option 1 and LBL option 2, and similarly we will create an outlet for our button options. So here BTN option 1 of type UI button, and similarly for the second radio button. So here now what we will do, we will create the function to set the values to those labels and buttons titles. So here function set cell header with title of type string. So cell header, and here what we will give, we will self.lbl header dot text is equals to title, and similarly we will create a function to set the options. So function set options titles from, and here we will take an array that is of type string, and now let's say self.lbl option 1 dot text is equals to option, make it options at index 0, and self.lbl option 2 dot text is equals to options at index 1. Okay, now we set the functions to set values to the labels. Now we are left with the IB actions for the radio button. So here we will create a IB action function, and we will name it option 1 selected of type sender, and it's of type UI button. Similarly, we will create a second IB actions for option 2. So option 2 is selected. Now here we will create a function that will turn our button on and off. So here what we will name it, set option selection. So here we will say function set option selection, and here it will receive a value as bool is option 1 selected and is of type bool. Here we will say if is option 1 selected, then do this, else we will do this. So here we will say self dot btn option 1 is selected is equals to true, and here self dot btn option 2 dot is selected is equals to false, and the vice versa will goes into the else block. And here we have false, and here we have true. Now when option 1 is selected, we will call this function set option selection. Yeah, and is missing, sorry. So option selection to true, because first option is selected, and similarly when option 2 is selected, it will be the option 1 will be false. So give it a mark. Option 1 selected, mark set options selection. Now connect our IB outlet and IB actions to the radio button wsl.xib, and here we have btn option 1, it goes here, btn option 2 goes here, lbl header goes here, lbl option 1 is connected to this, and lbl option 2 is connected to this second option label. Option 1 selected as touch up inside, option 2 and touch up inside. Now let's run the app. Here you can see the states of the buttons are changing. I select one, option second, and option 1 becomes disabled, and here it is. So option 1 is selected now and option 2 is not. So this is radio button. Now we will look into the functionality that how to maintain this state, and in real example of giving it a gender and marital status. Okay, so open your view controller.swift and let me make this bigger. First of all, we will create an enum for gender, enum gender, and here we say case male is equals to 1 and case female is equals to 2. Similarly, an enum for marital status, here we have case married is equals to 1 and case unmarried is equals to 2. And now let's create an user struct user, and it has gender of type gender and marital status of type marital status. And in our view controller, we create the user of type user, and in view.log we will initialize this user is equals to user, and by default gender will be male and marital status will be unmarried. Okay, now in our self for row at index path, since most of the work will go here. So here, if index path dot row is equals to 0, as we are saying that our first row will be for gender selection and second row will be for marital status selection. So here we will say cell dot set cell header with title gender. Similarly, in second row we will have marital status, and secondly we will say cell dot set options, and here we will say male, then female. And similarly, in marital status we have two options, either one is married or unmarried. Okay, so now let's run the app and see that whether we are getting those titles or not. So here you can see now it's looking nice that we have gender option selected and marital options, but now none of the option is selected, but by default our user is a male and is unmarried. So for this, what we will do if user dot gender is equals to gender dot male, then we'll say cell dot set option selected. So is option 1 is selected, then we'll say true, and here it will be double equal to as we are comparing, and else it's a cell dot option selection as false. Similarly, in our marital status, if our user dot marital status is equals to marital status dot married, then option 1 is selected, otherwise it's false. And if unmarried, then option 2 is selected. So now let's see that whether our cell selection works or not. And here you can see that male is selected for the user and unmarried status is by default selected. Now if I go and change it, now it says the user is a female, but when I scroll up it changed to male. So how we can control it? So for this we need to get the value that is selected by the user, since we are just displaying the value selection, but we are not getting that what the user has selected when he touched the other value buttons. So for this we will go to our reusability cell class, and here we will create a closer and type alias. We'll say selection call back, and it will return us the selected index of type int, and the return of it is void, and here we will create var call back of type selection callback, and we will mark it an optional. And here what we will do, if option 1 is selected to self dot callback and it says selected index, so we will pass 1 here, that first button is selected or first option is selected, and similarly when option 2 is selected we will say self dot callback. Now here we will create a function that how we can write a completion handler in cell selection completion handler, and it's a callback and it should be in escaping, and here we say selection callback. If you don't know about closer, you can go to the right I button in this video section and also in our videos channels playlist. You can find that closer about closer and escaping closers. So here we will find self dot callback is equals to callback, and finally we will give it a mark cell selection completion handler, and here in our view controller dot swift, what we will do, we will say cell dot cell selection completion handler, and you say index, or you can say for more clarity option selected, and to eliminate the memory problem, we will say weak self, and here let self is equals to self, else we'll say return, and here if index path dot row is equals to 0, then we have selected our gender, and if the index path row is equal to 1, then we have selected the marital status. So here if option selected is equals to 1, then user dot gender is equals to gender dot male, else user dot gender is equals to gender dot female. Similarly, here we copy and paste this for our marital status. If option 1 is selected, then marital status dot married, and otherwise user is unmarried. Marital status dot unmarried. Now let's run the app. So we need to use self with user, and here now let me make the user as female, and when I scroll up it's maintaining its state. So here this way we know that what option is selected by a user inside a table view. So this is a radio button for you inside a table view and how it works, as one of our new subscribers or newly Swift developer requested us for this video, and that's why we made this video. I hope you enjoy this video. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up and do share this video and subscribe to our channel for more Swift video tutorials. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.